Hello and welcome back. This is Joanna the Medium, and these are going to be readings for the month of October 2016. First and foremost, thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing. I have had an incredible amount of comments and emails, which I read every single one, and they make me very happy. So thank you so much for doing this. Just like last month, these readings for the month of October are divided into two parts almost. The first part is a channeled message, and the second part is cards, which often correspond to the message that was channeled, but also offer a little bit more detail with regards to what may be happening in your life. These are general readings, so if one sign does not make sense to you, read your other signs, as in your moon sign or rising signs, for these may offer a greater picture to what is happening. I have also received a lot of information or a lot of feedback from you saying that when you listen to the reading at the beginning of the month, it doesn't really make sense, and it probably wouldn't. But when you listen to it again towards the end of the month, it makes perfect sense to you. So I would encourage you to do that. I do that with myself when I watch readings, because when a month starts, we are not privy to what is going to be happening. So October is a month that is interesting, to say the least. I do have yet another new energy that I'm working with, and he has been providing a lot of information regarding the month of October and the months beyond. So I won't spoil the surprise for you, but it is reflected in each and every sign. There are some of you who have asked who he is. He is a male energy that I work with, and it is basically an energy or entity or being that basically tells me what to tell you. Even when it is with cards, he tells me what the message is for you. Of course, if you would like a private session, I would be delighted to do so for you. You can reach me at the information below, or you can go to my website, joannathemedium.com. I have also included links for you down below to my website as well as to my booking page, so you can go directly and book your own session that way. And I think that is everything that I have to say for you. If you feel inspired to write a comment or message me, I would, as always, love to read it, and I read them all. So without further ado, let's go with the reading, and I will see you again soon. Thank you. Hello, welcome back. Excuse me. This is going to be a reading for the sign of Taurus. Moon sign, sun sign, and rising sign. I always have trouble saying these. I have 3 cards face down. I will start off with a channeled message. So let's see what we've got for the sign of Taurus. Amazing opportunities around you or in store for you. Opportunities that you have been waiting for your entire life. That's interesting. These opportunities will bring a level of awareness to you and those around you that you have been contemplating for quite some time. These are physical changes that are marked by internal changes. All of this is happening as a result of your hard work, and you have taken, or it has taken, years for you to come this far or to be where you are. The process of your alignment is happening precisely the way it's meant to be. If you see things other than what you want, you need to step aside and pause and ask yourself how you are contributing to not getting the results that you want. And then I see the word fear. Okay. This is going to be a bit of a message about exploration of the mind. And he's showing me metaphorically that there's fears that are kind of around in the head, in my vision. And those fears are very hard to catch or pinpoint. And the reason why they're hard to pinpoint, I'm looking away because it's easier for me to concentrate versus if I look at myself. The reason why they're more difficult to pinpoint is because they're presented as something else than a fear. And he says it's presented as a want. What do you mean? He says to me, if there is something that you truly want, and there's a desperation about it, ask yourself a deeper question. What is driving that want or that desperation? In other words, he's showing me an example of wanting status. And status, by the very nature of what it is not a bad thing. But he's showing me that the word status is a wrapping for something that is much deeper, which is the fear. And he's showing me that the fear is actually what is fueling the need for status. But because you're looking at status, wanting status as an example, you're not being aware of the fear. So you're being asked to dig deeper. Why is he saying this? He says because it's time for change. He says you've been waiting long enough. You worked hard for it. It's time to let the rest go as well. When I say rest, I mean the rest of the fears. Okay, so it feels very much like there's opportunities on the horizon for you. And there's going to be many, or the word abound is being used. However, it feels like there is still some fears within you that are holding you back from firmly grasping whatever those opportunities will be. And although I feel that the opportunities are going to present themselves nonetheless, I feel that whatever fears you still have within yourself, deep, deep, deep fears, they'll make the opportunities seem far less exciting, because these opportunities will present themselves more as a challenge rather than something that is to be celebrated. Okay, so these opportunities will trigger your fears. Oh, okay. So this is general, there's no question about it, but whoever this is for, you will be presented with opportunities, and I hear the words on a global scale. Whether it's because your face is going to be on a global scale, or your work is done on a global scale, or you work in an environment where it is on a global scale. Something about global scale is very important here. If you let your fears hold you down, you will not be able to reach as many people as you could or have the potential to, because the fear is going to keep you down. I'm asking him, why is this so important to know right now? And he says again, because month of October is a month of change. It is a month of transformation. And I've said this in my 4 previous readings. Not only is it a time of change and transformation, it is a time of profound growth. And this is growth personally, but it's also growth on a global scale. But I'm going to keep that aside. The growth that's being talked about is growth on a deep level, but on a level that makes the biggest difference in one's life. It is foundational level, or at a very foundation of who you are. And he's saying the worries that you've had, you need to leave those behind. And this is about worries or fears connected. What are people going to think? So whether it's judgments, whether it's people, you're afraid of people looking at you, judging you, making their decisions based on their own, whatever it is, the word judgment comes around here. The message is, you need to understand that not everybody is going to be drawn to you. For that is the purpose of your gift or of your work. You're not here to save the world, and that's metaphor. You're here to help those who want to help themselves. And not everybody is in a place and in a position or in a time where they actively want to make a change. You are not to be concerned with those individuals. So I don't know who this is for, and I don't know what kind of work you do or what it is that you are inclined to do or you're passionate about, but it is very, very apparent to me that you need to let go of some fears that are holding you back from springing forward. And I do feel there's opportunities that are going to be coming to you and at you, that if you don't work on your fears, these opportunities are going to be overwhelming to you. They will seem more like a challenge or a huge mountain to climb rather than something to be celebrated or be joyful about or feel joyful about. Be patient, he says, with yourself, the famous words, but be proactive. What do you mean? Keep asking yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? When you find the answer, look it straight in the face and then decide, is it real? Is the fear real? Is the fear significant enough to stop you from going forward? Or are you giving it way too much energy and way too much importance than it is worth? And then he's asking me to finish with that. So this is general, yes. Now let's go to the cards, which tend to be a little bit more specific. So the first card represents your past. We have the card called Shadows, but it's shown in reverse. This is Major Arcana. And this card in reverse, I'm going to ask him what this means. 1 and 8 is 9, so it is number of endings. He asked me to add this number, even though not everybody does. He asked me to add this number together. This is a number of endings. The card in upright position is basically signifying looking at your dark shadows, or looking at your shadows, at your demons, at things you don't really want to look at. But because it's in reverse, I'm going to ask him what that means. He says, in the past, you were afraid to face your fears. That's your past. But because he's saying it to me in this particular way, in the past you were afraid to face your fears, there's a part of me that feels that is changing. And that would be congruent with the message that came before I look at the cards. So that's in your past. It's also pertaining to your mind and your thoughts in your past. And you felt and you maybe thought that the fears that you've had, you could not conquer, or you were afraid to face them, to look them square in the face. So that's your past. Your present, or the challenge, is mental conflict. This is card pertaining to thinking. 2 is number of choices and decisions. Mental conflict is pretty self-explanatory, but basically what this card says is right now you live in your head and your fears are in your head for the most part. He's saying you're paying way too much attention to your thoughts than you do to your feelings. And I'm going to ask him for clarification here. Because when we have fearful thoughts, we have fearful feelings that are corresponding. And he says, when you listen to your intuition, you know the answers. Yet when you go to your head, you get confused. It is your head and your thoughts and the fears that reside in your head that are making you confused far beyond what is necessary at this time. You know what to do. The aspect of yourself that you've been working on for so long is about to be released. No amount of thinking can change that. Thinking is only going to prolong it, because thinking acts as he says the word stubbornness. Thinking creates resistance. When you open yourself and allow yourself to just go with the flow, when you allow yourself to go with your intuition, you will not be in your head nearly as much. The thoughts, he says, that you are producing or that are produced in your mind belong to your past. He's talking about fearful thoughts. He says, what if it will never happen? What then? Instead, we think, what if it happens? And this is pertaining to fears. What if it never happens? What then? What will you do? And he says, maybe change how you talk to yourself or how you ask yourself questions. Rather than thinking thoughts of what will happen if blah, 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 ask yourself, what would happen if that didn't happen? What will happen if that doesn't happen? And see what feeling you get. He says you are blocking yourself from freeing yourself from your past. And I'm asking him why. And he says you're clinging to something that no longer serves you. Why? Because you're afraid of change. Okay. Most of us humans are afraid of change. Maybe afraid is too strong of a word. Change is often accompanied by the feeling of some loss. Or change is often perceived with some kind of loss. If we change something, we will lose something in the process. It is why it's so hard for smokers to quit, for example, because changing to a non-smoker the smoker will lose something in the process, which is how they feel when they smoke. So we're afraid of change. And then he says, you give yourself far too much credit for being fearful. And I'm going, I don't understand. And then he says, if you gave yourself as much credit for being fearless that you do for being fearful, your whole life would change in an instant. And I'm going, oh, I think my brain is trying to grasp this and my ego is trying to figure this out and I'm having difficulty grasping it. And he says, because you live in fear. And I don't mean me, but whoever I'm talking to, because we live in fear. He says, fear is a process of imagination. When we fear something, we project or we imagine things that may have happened in the past, but for the most part didn't. Or some things may have happened in the past and then we imagine things being worse in the future. And then he says, if you can imagine the worst case scenario, why can you not imagine the best case scenario? What is so different about that? And then as I pause, he says to me, it's your conditioning. Rewire your system. Put the cables in a different order. Or maybe they're like this and put them in this order. So the card basically says, don't be so much in your head. Change your head. Change your thoughts. Change your thought process. Change how you think, which will change how you feel. Which is going to make significant difference when the opportunities come towards you. The next card signifies advice or future. And we have the card called Deception and Envy. This is again mental card, thinking card pertaining to our thought process. So I'm going to ask him, in a traditional tarot deck, this would be explained as, deception, someone deceiving you. But that's not how I'm going to interpret this. Instead, I'm going to ask him, he says, I'm going to take this card as an advice rather than a fortune telling. Your thoughts have a way of deceiving you. Therefore, change your thoughts, change your thought pattern so that your thoughts will no longer deceive you. And when I ask him to give me a little bit more, he says, you live in deception most of the time. When you live in fear, you live in deception. You're not living in the present. And then he says, the mind is a funny mechanism. Not funny as in haha funny, but metaphorically speaking, because it can deceive you or it can empower you. It can make you great. He says, bottom line is this. Act on what you feel, not so much on what you think. And what he means by this, act on your intuition, don't act on your fears. For that is going to make the most significant difference in your life. And don't be so afraid of being heard. That's interesting. He says when people hear you, they understand what you have to say. But not everybody wants to hear what you have to say. And just because they don't want to hear what you have to say does not mean you didn't do your job properly. And in order for one to stay true to themselves and to not connect to that feeling of doing something wrong, one has to be really confident. And confidence is all in the mind. Like confidence comes from fears, or lack of confidence comes from fears. I think that's all I have on this. I believe that we're in a retrograde period, so communication is a little bit wonky because I feel like my communication is jumbled up, so my apologies for this. If this made sense to you and if you feel inspired to comment or write an email, I would love that. I always love to hear it. If you would like a private reading or session, you can contact me with the information below or book your own session. I included a link down below. I wish you best of luck. Have faith in yourself and in your abilities. And I look forward to seeing you again in November. And keep in mind, this is a general reading. And if it doesn't make sense to you this month, look at the other signs as it may offer you a clearer picture. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. And I will see you soon. Bye.